Grahamites, it's time to unite. Today is my first episode of GamerGraham Ramblings. GamerGraham is my gaming handle in a lot of platforms like Steam, Origin, and stuff like that, where there needs to be one. And I'm going to be talking a little bit with you about my life growing up and being in the console market for the longest time, and it really all started back in the 80s when I got a Atari 2600 for my birthday. Now, it's been so long ago I can't remember how old I was when I got it, but yeah, I should have been able to tell from my photos, but the thing is, a long time ago, I put all my pictures into like a school box, and over the years they just got jumbled up, so they're not organized, they're not together, and there's no writings on them, so there's no for sure what goes together and what doesn't, and so that's why I couldn't tell you when I got an Atari, but I did, 2600 right there. And that suited me for a while, and it was one of the first consoles that my great-grandfather used to play with me, and I thought that was the coolest thing, and I ended up having like at least 40 games for it and stuff like that, because back then the console wasn't that expensive. The games weren't that expensive, because really, if you think about it, the Atari games, they were maybe $15, maybe $20 at the most, and the parents could afford to get maybe like one or two a month or whatever. But I got majority of mine not from allowances per se, but what would happen is my great-grandfather would hold on to some extra money, and when I would behave or not that I was a bad child anyway, so that's why I got so much, but he would take me out and give me stuff, which I thought was kind of cool. And yeah, my game library for 2600 just built up over time, and yeah, those were the days. I mean, I met one of my first better friends growing up, and we played Atari together, and did things together. Like go to church and whatnot. And I was raised in church, by the way, so don't think it was any kind of relationship or anything, because it wasn't. But you know how best friends are; they'll do anything for each other, and they're always with each other and can do stuff with each other. So it's not like it's it's anything beyond best friends. So, but yeah, over time, the console itself quit working, and later on, I eventually got the Nintendo, the original NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, and it was the famous one that was out. It came with the Zapper, it came with Duck Hunt and the Super Mario Brothers, and it was the coolest thing ever. And a little side note, I got the Zapper before they started making it mandatory that all gun had orange on it. So mine was gray and white before they started making it that way, which I thought was really cool. And I know I still had it around here somewhere. I just can't find it. But then I must have built up a library of at least maybe 30 games for that one. Your Super Mario 2, Super Mario 3, the Duck Hunt, which I guess you could count as one cartridge, but still two games. Then I got your Legend of Zelda 2, Excite Bike. Shoot, there's a lot of them. Top Gear, I think, Red Racer, RC Pro-Am. Yeah, those were some great ones right there. But I was mostly in, Top Gun, Wheel of Fortune, Crystalis. Crystalis was probably one of the better games for it, besides like Final Fantasy, 1 and 2. And then they didn't release 4 or 5 in the United States. So when they released Final Fantasy 3 for the US, that was actually their Final Fantasy 5, I think, in Japan and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, time moved on, and things just got better. I went and eventually got myself a Super Nintendo, and I remember playing my first game for it, which was Super Mario World, and I loved it, and I had other games for that as well. Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. When they added Cammy and the other new ones. Let's see what else. Shoot, there's just too many to name, Almost at the edge of that generation, the Super Nintendo generation, I finally convinced myself to get a Sega Genesis, and I started buying a couple games for that, because I became interested in, Sonic Knuckles, Sonic Adventures, stuff like that. So that's what I mostly played, was the Sonic games on it. But it did alright. I loved how fast, Sonic could go in that platform, and it wasn't really seen too much on the Nintendo side. Nintendo had the content, whereas Genesis had, graphics and speed, which I thought, they were both well balanced, and I think whether you had one or the other, or even if you had both, you'd find some replay value in both consoles. And I was a fool. I mean, I'll admit, I was one of the few that got like the short-lived Sega Saturn. They just pushed consoles too fast, because it just seemed like, as soon as the Sega Saturn came out, like a year or two later, they came out with the Sega Dreamcast, and they ultimately killed themselves for it. After that, they went bankrupt almost, because they lost the developers and stuff like that, because here they were developing games for Sega Saturn, and all of a sudden, oh, we're doing the Sega Dreamcast now, and now they have to spend all this time and energy and money into a new platform, and developers don't want to constantly do that. That's why there's been a gap in consoles, like every 5 to 7 years, like between the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One now. And like the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, but that even that was a little bit less than the 5 to 7 years, but still the replay value is still there even now. They're still putting out games for the PS3. I mean, look at how long they put out games and stuff for the PS2 after the PS3 came out. It was after the PlayStation 3 Slim where they stopped making the PS2s altogether and the games for it. After that, you started finding games in like the bargain bins and stuff, and eventually just got rid of it because they couldn't do anything with it. So, yeah, I've had a PlayStation. Played Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9. Played some of the fighter ones as well. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but there are some fighting ones similar. Battle Arena Toshinden, that's the one. But I played some of those games as well. Yeah. And that was fun. Up until my brother got interested in Final Fantasy and basically just took that console and I never got it back because in the end it quit working. So I never did get to play much after that. So but yeah, I got the PlayStation 3. I had the PlayStation 2, and I got the one with the hard drives, especially for Final Fantasy 11, the online mass multiplayer game that was so popular at the time, and it is still somewhat, but not as popular as 14 is now. But I had the PlayStation 2 and had Xbox 360 at the same time, and at the time that could also play Final Fantasy 11. So I had 3 accounts, one for PC, one for Xbox 360, one for PlayStation 2, and that's how I made my money. I left my consoles on, the Final Fantasy running, to sell stuff off my characters, and I would transfer that guild to my main character, and that would be how I profited and had so much money back then. So that's what happened there. But yeah, my Xbox 360, Final Fantasy 11. Some of the better games I played for that, probably Far Cry 3, Assassin's Creed 3, Borderlands 2, but I eventually bought all those for PC because I'm just more or less a PC gamer now, and I don't do consoles at all anymore. But then I eventually had a PlayStation 3, and that was not too long before the data breach, and they closed down the servers for like 3 months. And then gave away the free games after that, as like a compensation, and I thought that was cool. But I played Olympus Has Fallen. I think that's really the only one I played for it, because I was specifically going to use that console for Final Fantasy 14 when it came out, and it was such a botched release when they first released the game that they nixed the PS3 version, like right from the get-go. And when this new developer took the game over and made it to the awesome game it is today, then they released it for the PlayStation 3 and now for the PS4 now. So that's I eventually sold my PlayStation 3 back to GameStop. But yeah, for all things Nintendo, man, I've had a Nintendo 64, plenty of games. My brother pretty much took it, and I had to get myself another one so I could play my games and he could play his, because he was on it all the time. Here I was just trying to get through like Super Mario 64, and here he was playing like GoldenEye and all these other games, Castlevania and stuff like that. And he played that thing more than I did. But then I convinced him and I go together, we trade in our consoles and stuff and share a GameCube. And Super Mario Sunshine was okay. That's really all I played for it, but my brother had more games. I don't remember what they were, but we had that for a while. Then we got the Nintendo Wii. It was a brand new concept. It was all the rage back then. And, motion control, and it was so popular that they even started using that in like nursing homes and stuff for therapy, so that, people could get their motion in their arms and legs and stuff again. And I thought that was just like the coolest thing ever, so I got myself a Nintendo Wii. I used it. I played Mario, because I'm a Mario freak. I played other games too, but mostly just that. And then my grandmother got me my Wii U and Super Mario Brothers U for Christmas back in December of 2013, I want to say. It was 2012 or 2013, yeah. I got the Wii U. and I bought other games for it too. Darksiders 2, that was a good game. Like a Super Luigi, you know, the Luigi version of Super Mario. And I bought some classics on the off of the gamepad that came with it too. Like I went back and I played like Super Mario Brothers 3 again, and some other games. But yeah, it was really fun. And I also had a Nintendo DS. My brother had one too. We used to sit down at Pizza Hut and play with each other while waiting for our food. We can't do that anymore because they closed all the restaurants here and went to delivery and carry out only. Then finally had a PSP. That was short-lived too. That was shared between me and my brother, and he decided to sell it after a while. So after that, that's basically it. Maybe in my next video I can go more in depth on, you know, my favorite games, my favorite genres. But I can tell you right now that my favorite thing right now is Final Fantasy 14. I've been playing this for ever since launch, or ever since even before public beta. I played this, and then when it went to the public release, and then I played it for about 6 months, and then I got, you know, caught up in the game, lost interest, and then I came back a year later, and I have been back ever since. So that's pretty much everything. I'll talk about more here in another video, but I hope you enjoyed my first episode of GamerGraham Ramblings. I will talk to you later.